Okay, so get ready because we're diving deep into a world that's been sparking some pretty intense conversations.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Ethical non-monogamy or E&M,
Yeah.
and you've been spending time with the Claim the Day blog.
Uh-huh.
So clearly you're curious about relationships that kind of go beyond that traditional one and only.
Well, what's interesting is that for a lot of people, it's not about just like rejecting monogamy.
Yeah.
It's more nuanced.
Yeah.
It's about looking for something that just feels more authentic,
Right.
more fulfilling.
And I'm seeing that in Claim the Day, too.
Yeah.
It's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right.
It feels like there's a whole spectrum of E&M styles.
Totally.
Right? It's not just one definition.
It's an umbrella term, and under that umbrella, you've got everything from polyamory to open relationships,
Yeah.
swinging, and even relationship anarchy.
Okay, hold on. Relationship anarchy.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
That one's particularly thought-provoking.
Yeah, I think we need to break this down a bit. What makes all of these styles ethically non-monogamous?
Right.
What separates this from, plain old cheating?
Yeah, that's the crucial part. It all comes down to consent, transparency, and communication.
Okay.
We're talking about relationships where everyone involved knows about and agrees to the non-monogamous structure.
Got it.
It's about honesty and respect, not deception.
So let's dive into these different styles you mentioned. Claim
Yes.
the Day
Right.
talks a lot about polyamory.
Yeah.
What exactly does that look like in practice?
So polyamory is all about having multiple romantic relationships at the same time,
Okay.
and everyone involved is aware and consenting.
Wow, reading those stories in Claim the Day
Yeah.
about polyamorous families
Yeah.
really made me think about the level of communication involved.
It's a lot.
Like, how do you even begin to navigate those conversations?
So that's where the ethical part really comes into play.
Okay.
Polyamorous relationships thrive on open and honest communication.
Yeah.
It's about expressing your needs, actively listening to your partner's needs.
And working together to create a dynamic that works for everyone.
So it's not just about adding more people to the equation. It's
Yeah.
about building something more complex
For sure.
and intentional.
Exactly. And it challenges a lot of our preconceived notions about what a relationship should look like.
Okay, so that's polyamory.
Uh-huh.
What about open relationships? How do those differ?
Open relationships are typically defined as partners in a committed relationship who agree that they can have sexual or romantic connections with others
Okay.
outside their primary partnership.
All right.
It might be about sexual exploration
Right.
or even just the freedom to form other romantic bonds,
Okay.
depending on the couple's agreements.
So there's still a primary relationship at the core,
Yeah,
but there's this agreed upon space for exploration outside of that.
precisely.
Got it.
And these specific rules and boundaries vary wildly from couple to couple.
Okay.
It's all about tailoring the arrangement to what works for them.
That makes sense. Now, onto swinging. This one feels a bit more mysterious. It does have a certain mystique.
What's the core idea there?
Swinging is generally about couples or individuals engaging in sexual activities with others, often in a social setting
Okay.
or within a specific community.
Sure.
The emphasis is usually on the sexual aspect,
Well,
not necessarily on forming deep emotional connections.
So it's more about a specific type of shared experience
Yeah,
within a relationship.
exactly. And again, it's all about consent and clear communication
Got it.
between everyone involved.
All right. Last but not least, we have to unpack this whole relationship anarchy thing.
Okay.
You mentioned it earlier.
I did.
What's that all about?
So relationship anarchy is the wild card in the bunch.
Okay.
It's like taking all the traditional rule books about relationships and tossing them out the window.
Sounds like a recipe for chaos.
Not necessarily.
Right.
It's about consciously choosing how you want to structure your relationships free from predefined roles or labels.
Okay.
You might have a mix of romantic, sexual, and platonic relationships, all without feeling bound by those conventional expectations.
So in relationship anarchy, you're really crafting your own unique relationship map
That's the idea.
based on your individual needs and desires.
It's about prioritizing individual autonomy and creating relationships based on mutual consent and genuine connection rather than societal norms.
Wow. This is all a lot to process.
I know, right?
We've got polyamory, open relationships, swinging relationship, anarchy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's like E&M is this whole diverse ecosystem of relationships,
That is.
each with its own unique set of challenges and rewards.
That's a great way to put it. And what's fascinating is that people choose to explore E&M for all sorts of reasons.
Right. From what I'm reading in Claim the Day,
Yeah.
it's not just about seeking novelty or variety.
Right.
It's often much deeper than that.
Yeah.
People are drawn to E&M for personal growth,
Uh,
for stronger connections,
Yeah.
for a sense of freedom.
It really challenges us to redefine what we think we know about love and relationships.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've laid out the different styles, but I'm curious, what makes someone say, hey, the traditional monogamy model isn't for me. I want to explore something different.
Well, sometimes it's about feeling like the traditional model is too restrictive
Okay.
or doesn't allow for the kind of self-expression they crave.
Right.
Sometimes it's about wanting to experience different types of connections or
Yes.
challenge societal norms.
Claim the Day
Yeah.
mentions this idea that some people find traditional monogamy stifling,
Yeah.
like it doesn't allow them to fully be themselves.
That's a key point. It's not about judging monogamy, but recognizing that it isn't the only path to fulfilling relationships.
So it's about finding a model that aligns with your values and allows
Mhm.
you to thrive authentically. That's pretty powerful.
It is, and it speaks to the growing desire for more personalized and fulfilling relationships, regardless of what form they take.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation
Me too.
because I think it's important to move past the stereotypes
Yeah.
and really understand the nuance within E&M.
For sure.
It's not about cheating or sleeping around.
Right.
It's about consciously choosing a different path
Yes.
and creating relationships based on honesty, respect, and open communication.
I couldn't agree more. It's about expanding our understanding of what healthy and fulfilling relationships can look like.
This has been really eye-opening already.
Yeah.
We've defined, E&M explored the different styles, but
Yeah.
what about the reality of living it? What are the benefits that draw people to E&M, and what are some of the challenges they face?
That's where things get really interesting. We've
Yeah.
only just scratched the surface. One thing that really struck me in Claim the Day
Yeah.
was this idea that E&M can be a powerful catalyst for personal growth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by that, too.
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Wouldn't more relationships equal more complexity,
Right.
more potential drama?
Yeah, more moving parts for sure.
How does E&M lead to personal growth?
Well, think about it.
Right.
When you're in an E&M relationship, you're constantly navigating uncharted territory. Yeah. You're confronting your own assumptions about love and relationships.
Right.
You're forced to develop communication skills, emotional intelligence, and a deep understanding of your own needs and boundaries.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like you're stepping outside of those societal scripts
Uh-huh.
and really taking ownership of your choices.
Exactly.
Right.
And Claim the Day highlights how that journey of self-discovery
Yeah.
can be incredibly empowering.
Okay.
It's about learning to articulate your desires, communicate your boundaries, and navigate complex emotions
Right.
with honesty and compassion.
So it's not just about the relationships themselves.
Yeah.
It's about the personal transformation that happens along the way.
Right. It's about becoming a more authentic, self-aware,
Yeah.
and emotionally intelligent version of yourself.
Now, another thing that Claim the Day talks about
Yeah.
is how E&M can actually strengthen a primary relationship.
Interesting.
I'll admit that one threw me for a loop at first.
Yeah, I could see that.
How does that work?
It might seem counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but it comes back to that emphasis on honesty and communication.
Okay.
In E&M, you can't sweep things under the rug
Right.
or avoid difficult conversations.
You got to be upfront.
You have to be upfront about your needs and desires,
Yeah.
and that level of transparency
Okay.
can build incredible trust and intimacy.
It's like you're saying, I trust you enough to be completely open with you,
Yeah,
even about things that might make us uncomfortable.
exactly. And Claim the Day shares some powerful stories about couples
Yeah.
who found that confronting those difficult conversations
Uh-huh.
actually deepened their connection and brought them closer together.
Wow.
It's about building a relationship on a foundation of honesty and vulnerability.
So it's not about diluting the love or connection in the primary relationship.
Right.
It's about enriching it with another layer of trust and understanding.
Precisely, it challenges the idea that love is a finite resource, that opening up to others somehow diminishes the love you have for your primary partner.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Claim the Day even suggests that E&M can help couples address some of those common relationship challenges,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
like boredom or feeling stuck in a rut.
Absolutely. By bringing new experiences and perspectives into their lives, couples can reignite that spark
Okay.
and keep things fresh and exciting. It's about embracing growth both individually and as a couple.
I think a lot of people automatically associate E&M with jealousy and drama,
For sure. It's a common perception.
but it sounds like it can actually have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, jealousy is a normal human emotion,
Right.
and it can definitely come up in E&M relationships.
Huh.
But Claim the Day argues that E&M actually encourages you to confront jealousy head-on,
Okay.
to develop healthier coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
and to communicate more effectively with your partners.
So instead of suppressing or ignoring those feelings,
Yeah.
you're learning to work through them in a constructive way that's a skill that could benefit anyone, regardless of their relationship style.
Absolutely. It's about developing emotional resilience and learning to navigate complex emotions with maturity and compassion.
Claim the Day also talks about the sense of personal freedom that E&M can offer. I can see how that would be a major draw for some people.
Absolutely. It's about having the space to explore different facets of yourself,
Uh-huh.
to pursue your passions, to cultivate meaningful connections
Sorry.
outside of your primary relationship, all without guilt or secrecy.
Right.
It's about honoring your individuality while still being deeply connected to your partner or partners.
It sounds like it requires a delicate balance.
It does.
Nurturing your own independence
Yes,
while maintaining strong and healthy relationships.
it does, and it's not without its challenges.
Which brings us to the flip side of the coin.
Okay.
We've talked about the potential benefits of E&M,
Uh-huh.
but what are some of the downsides that people should be aware of?
Right.
Claim the Day doesn't shy away from those either.
Of course not. No relationship style is perfect.
Right.
And E&M definitely has its own set of unique challenges.
What are some of the big ones?
Well, as we've touched on, managing jealousy is a huge one.
Yeah.
Even if you're intellectually on board with E&M,
Uh-huh.
those feelings can still pop up unexpectedly.
Right.
And it takes a lot of self-awareness and communication to work through them in a healthy way.
That makes sense. It's like you have to unlearn a lot of those ingrained societal messages about possessiveness and exclusivity.
Exactly. And then there's the logistical challenge
Okay.
of managing multiple relationships.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's not always easy to balance everyone's needs and schedules,
Right.
and it requires a lot of organization and communication to make it work.
I can imagine it sounds like a lot of juggling acts in calendar Tetris.
It can be, but for many people, the rewards outweigh the challenges.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's still a lot of social stigma
Oh, right.
surrounding E&M.
Yeah.
Not everyone understands it, and you might face judgment or even rejection from family, friends, or colleagues.
That's a really important point. Claim the Day talks about the importance of building a strong support system.
Yeah.
Whether it's other people who practice E&M,
Uh-huh.
therapists who are knowledgeable about non-monogamy,
Yeah.
or simply friends and family members who are open-minded and accepting.
Absolutely. It's crucial to have people you can talk to who understand your choices
Yeah.
and who can offer support when things get tough.
And finally, let's not forget the emotional complexity
Oh, yeah.
of navigating multiple relationships. That's got to be intense.
It can be you're constantly juggling different dynamics, different communication styles, different emotional needs.
Right.
It requires a lot of self-awareness, empathy,
Yeah.
and the ability to hold space for a wide range of emotions.
It sounds like E&M is not for the faint of heart.
It's definitely not a walk in the park.
It takes a lot of work, communication, and emotional maturity to make it work.
It does, but for those who are drawn to it and willing to put in the effort,
Yeah.
it can be an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling way to experience love and relationships.
So it's not a decision to be taken lightly.
Right?
It's about being honest with yourself about what you want,
Uh-huh.
what you're comfortable with,
Yeah,
and whether you're truly ready to embrace the complexities that come with E&M.
exactly. Claim the Day stresses that it's a journey of self-discovery, and it's important to be patient with yourself and the process.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground here, from defining E&M and exploring the different styles to discussing the benefits and the challenges. I
Yeah.
think our listener has a much clearer picture of what E&M is really all about.
I hope so. It's a fascinating and ever-evolving world, and I think it's important to keep those conversations going.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up, I'm curious, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about E&M? What does Claim the Day say about that?
Well, one of the most common misconceptions is that E&M is just about casual sex.
Okay.
People assume it's all about sleeping around and avoiding commitment.
So it's not just some free-for-all hookup fest.
Not at all. Many E&M relationships are just as committed, emotionally intimate, and fulfilling as monogamous relationships.
Okay.
It's about creating deep and meaningful connections with multiple people,
Right.
and that often involves a lot more than just sex.
Claim the Day really emphasizes that it's about expanding our understanding of love.
Yeah.
not diminishing it.
That's a great way to put it. And another common misconception is that people in E&M relationships are incapable of feeling jealousy.
Right.
People assume they're somehow immune to those feelings.
Like they've transcended it.
Yeah, but that's simply not true.
Right. As we talked about earlier, jealousy is a normal human emotion,
Mm,
and it can definitely come up in E&M relationships, just like in any other type of relationship.
exactly. It's not about being jealousy-proof. It's about developing healthy coping mechanisms and communication skills to address those feelings in a constructive way.
So it's about turning jealousy into an opportunity for growth,
Right.
rather than letting it control you.
Exactly. And another misconception is that E&M is inherently selfish or irresponsible.
Oh, I've heard that one too. It's that whole idea that it's all about fulfilling your own desires
Right.
without any regard for your partner's feelings.
Right. But Claim the Day challenges that notion, arguing that ethical non-monogamy is actually built on a foundation of consent, communication, and respect.
Okay.
It's about making sure everyone's needs are met
Yeah.
and that everyone feels safe and respected within the relationship structure.
It's not about prioritizing one person's needs over another's.
Right.
It's about finding a balance that works for everyone involved.
Exactly. It's about creating a relationship model that is mutually beneficial and fulfilling,
Yeah.
and that takes a lot of work, communication, and a deep commitment to ethical principles.
It's about redefining what it means to be in a committed relationship,
Yeah.
expanding those definitions beyond the traditional monogamous model.
Precisely. And that's what makes it so fascinating.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation,
Me too.
because I think it's so important to dispel these myths and misconceptions about E&M.
For sure.
It's a valid relationship style that deserves to be understood and respected just like any other.
I couldn't agree more, and I think Claim the Day does a fantastic job of presenting a nuanced and realistic view of E&M, highlighting both the joys and the challenges.
It's been really eye-opening, but before we move on, I'm curious, for someone who's listening to this and thinking, okay, this E&M thing sounds intriguing, maybe it's something I want to explore, where do they even begin? Claim the Day must have some advice on that.
Well, the first step is to really do your research and educate yourself about what E&M is and isn't.
Okay.
Read books, listen to podcasts, talk to people who practice E&M.
Right.
The more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about your own relationships.
It's like any other major life decision. You wouldn't buy a house without doing your research first.
Exactly. And once you have a solid understanding of E&M,
Right.
you can start thinking about whether it aligns with your own values and desires.
Claim the Day talks about the importance of self-reflection, of really understanding what you want and what you're comfortable with before jumping into anything new.
That's such a crucial point. It's about being honest with yourself, about your motivations, your needs, and your boundaries.
So it's not about trying to fit yourself into some pre-existing E&M mold.
Right.
It's about figuring out what version of E&M, if any, feels right for you.
Exactly. And once you have a better understanding of yourself,
Yeah.
you can start talking to your partner about it.
Okay.
That's where things can get a little tricky.
Right.
So Claim the Day emphasizes the importance of approaching those conversations with honesty, compassion, and a willingness to listen.
That sounds like it could be a potentially nerve-wracking conversation.
It can be, for sure.
What advice does Claim the Day give for navigating those waters?
Well, they stress the importance of framing it as a conversation, not a confrontation.
Right.
It's not about trying to convince your partner of anything, but rather to share your thoughts and feelings and to genuinely listen to their perspective.
So it's about creating a safe space for open dialogue and mutual understanding.
Exactly. And Claim the Day reminds us that it's okay if you and your partner don't see eye to eye on everything.
Right.
The key is to respect each other's perspectives and to either find a compromise that works for both of you,
Right.
or to acknowledge that E&M might not be a good fit for your relationship.
It's about prioritizing healthy communication and respecting each other's needs and boundaries,
Yes,
whether or not you ultimately decide to explore E&M together.
absolutely. And if you do decide to move forward with exploring E&M,
Okay.
Claim the Day suggest taking things slow and being mindful of everyone's feelings. Start with small steps,
Okay.
like going on dates with other people or attending social events together, and gradually figure out what works best for you.
It's like dipping your toes in the water before diving in headfirst.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to adjust your approach as you go. What works for one couple might not work for another. It's all about finding what feels right for you.
This has been such a helpful and insightful conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of E&M now, thanks to claim the day and your expertise.
Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are intrigued by this relationship style?
I think the most important thing is to approach E&M with an open mind and a willingness to challenge your assumptions. It's not for everyone, but it can be a beautiful and fulfilling way to experience love and relationships. It's about expanding our understanding of what's possible and embracing the diversity of human connection.
It's amazing how much we've unpacked already,
Yeah.
from defining E&M
Yeah.
to exploring all those different styles and even tackling some of those
Right.
tough questions about, jealousy and social stigma.
For sure.
But I think what's really hitting home for me is this idea that
Yeah.
E&M isn't just about romantic relationships. It's about personal growth
Yeah.
and expanding our understanding of what's possible in all of our connections.
That's a fantastic point. It really challenges us to question our assumptions about love commitment and what it means to build meaningful relationships.
And speaking of challenging assumptions,
Yeah.
I have to admit, before diving into Claim the Day,
Mm.
I had this image of E&M being like
Yeah.
a very specific type of person.
Right. Right.
But the blog shows how diverse the E&M community really is.
Absolutely. You have people from all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds, all relationship configurations.
So cool.
It's a reminder that there's no one right way to do E&M, just like there's no one right way to do any relationship.
It's about finding what works for you and your partners.
Yeah,
Honoring your individual needs and desires.
for sure.
And that brings me to my final question.
Okay.
Claim the Day has given us a lot to think about. But what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from this deep dive into E&M?
If there's one thing I hope sticks with our listener, it's this.
Okay.
Whether or not E&M resonates with them personally, I hope it inspires them to question the status quo.
To challenge those societal scripts about relationships and to be open to exploring different ways of loving and connecting.
Beautifully said. Maybe E&M is something they'll explore in their own lives. Or maybe it simply sparks conversation with their partner about their needs and desires within their current relationship, whatever the outcome It's about expanding our understanding of what's possible and embracing the beautiful complexity of human connection.
That's the heart of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Embracing that complexity and approaching relationships with curiosity, compassion, and a willingness to learn and grow.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of ethical non-monogamy. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration. And remember, no matter what path you choose, the most important thing is to create relationships that bring you joy, fulfillment, and a sense of genuine connection.